See when I get Holy Land. Like that. Florida? That's awesome. I haven't stopped over in New York for 3 days. Well, that's the way I look.
Going to Florida.
All right.
Right there, guys. No give over base.
Wait for Mark. Should be
there.
The man, the legend. All right. Good morning, everybody.
He's already sweet.
Mark,
like, take a ticket. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to continue what we discussed yesterday. We're going to get into a sugya that we saw yesterday. So the Mishnah that we're discussing today was actually quoted on yesterday's Daf Kufna Gimel Amad Aleph. So we had a situation where a person gave a gift. It was a gift document. Someone was holding a gift document that said, Bob gave me his watch. All right, Bob gave me his watch, and then he's holding the document, and he wants to go ahead and get his watch. So Bob is claiming I was a shchiv mirah. I thought, it was dying. I only gave away because I was dying. So therefore, it's not a good gift. So we had in the Mishnah says, so according to our mayor, he has to bring a raya. All right, the Bob has to bring a proof that he was dying. Otherwise, the watch gets awarded to the recipient. That was Rabbi Meir. Some seem to say that the recipients, right, have to go ahead and prove that he was healthy and then be able to go ahead and collect the watch. So that was the Mishnah. All right. Now let's see the Gemara top of today's page. So in this Kuf Nun Dalu.
Oh.
So the Gemara says Raya b'mai.
The Amar Aleph? Oh.
The 2 dots. We have the 2 dots. What? Right. Oh, yeah. So it was just a quote from the Mishnah. Yeah. I was just I was right. I was saying the Mishnah. Right. So the Chachamim say, yeah. The Chachamim say
bring the rise.
All right. So I just explained, as I said, we have a lot to do today, and I just explained with the Mishnah, but I'll go over it again. So we said yesterday that the guy gives a gift, right? Let's remember this case. Right. Bob gives a gift. And the people have a star that says Bob gave him the watch. Bob says, I was a shchivira, therefore I can be chayzer. I was dying, and then it turned out I didn't die. And no, you were healthy.
So the shchivira guy has.
All right, sorry about that. No. All right, so the Rameir says the guy has to prove that he was a shchiv mirah, and the Chachamim say no, they have to bring proof that he was healthy. That was what it says. So they have to bring a raya. So what is raya? Yes. All right, so let's go. So raya b'mai. So what is this raya? So Rav Huna Amar raya b'edim. You have to bring witnesses. And Rav Chizda v'Rabbi bar Rav Huna Amar raya b'kiyum ashtar. So we'll explain the both cases we're going to get into. So now, according to, I'll explain the second one for the Rebbe Rav Huna. Says Raya b'kiyum ashtar. Prove that the signatures on the document were authenticated, and if that's the case, then if it's a good shtar, then they are able to go ahead and accept it. So they have to prove the validity of the shtar. According to Rav Huna, right? According to Rav Huna, they have to bring a proof of witnesses that indeed the guy was healthy, right? So, which is even more than just saying this was a good shtar. So Rav Huna Abarai be'edim. Rav Huna says the raya was be'edim. Kamefuk pluksa the Rabbi Yaakov Rav Nasan. That's the machlokes that we saw yesterday. Rabbi Yaakov Rav Nasan. And what was that? So that case over there was right now the guy is healthy. Okay, so according to Rav Nasan, the guy is healthy right now. So I was healthy now, right? So therefore, it sounds like that you were healthy when you wrote the shtar. So you got to bring to me a proof. Right, the chazaka brings me a proof that you weren't healthy. According to Rabbi Yaakov, no. We know the watch was originally Bob's, and if you wanted to go ahead and take the watch from Bob, you have to go ahead and the burden of proof is on you. So now that was the machlokes. Who is the burden of proof on? Is it the fact he's healthy now? We assume he was healthy back then, and therefore it's on the one to say that I was sick, I'm Bob, or do we say that hey, before we know that the watch was Bob's, and if you want to go ahead and take it, bring Aiden to show that he was healthy. And so Rameir Rab Nassan, Rameir hold like Rab Nassan, and therefore say the burden of proof is on the guy to prove that even though he's healthy now, he was sick then. Rabbi Yaakov, in other words, that no, he was always the watch is always his. Prove to me that the watch is not his. And Rav Chiza, Rav Huna, Raya became a star. So there, really, what they're arguing on is whether Kiyum Hashtar is machlekes. So now it's Bekim Hashtar Kamifli. But Maida Bashtar Shekasvut Tzarich Lekaimo Divrei Meir. That even though, despite the person admits the star is good, nevertheless Tzarich Lekaimo. All right, it has to go ahead and it has to be what's it called? It has to be proven, right? You have to go ahead and uphold it. You have to certify that the document. And therefore, once he says that, that it's good, right? So that knows that yes, I did remember. Bob admits he wrote the star, right? Bob admits he wrote the star. The question is, do you have to be kind the star or not? So in other words, once he says that he gives it, they can go ahead and collect it without saying that the star was authenticated. They don't have to prove anything. Once the guy, Bob, admits to giving it, so they don't have to, it's a valid star. So therefore, the star says, you gave me the watch. Now give me the watch, right? They don't have to do anything. So according to a mayor, that's it. And the Rameir Savri Moed B'Shar Shekasut into the Kaimo. The Rabbanan Savri Moed B'Shar Shekasut Sarich LeKaimo. In other words, like this, according to the Chachamim, really the guy has Peshas or Peshahitir, right? He's saying, yes, it was a good star, but I was sick. And therefore, it's not a valid gift. So therefore, that, since over there, according to Rabbanan, you have to go ahead and validate the star. Therefore, the star, say you have to validate the star. So therefore, therefore in this case, so you need witnesses, you need proof to go ahead and show that the star was valid. Otherwise, you have Peshas or Peshahita according to the Rabbanan.
Oh. He doesn't wash it in.
So let's say it was where everything was given. In other words, yeah. So everyone agrees that we're talking about a case where it would be chayzer. So where it would be chayzer if he was sick then, or else the Mishnah wouldn't even start, or else. Right. So right, or his whole entire property, or something that was given, and therefore,
That's right.
No, but they're holding star.
Concept is whether you shall make a star void.
If you have a star, you can make it.
Right.
Also cases of duress.
Right. So right, and we've seen over the last couple of blocks different scenarios where it's chayzer or it's not chayzer. Obviously, we're talking about a case of where everyone agrees that if he was indeed a shchiv meira, it would be chayzer. So now we're trying to understand the claims of who is the burden of proof on whether he was sick or not sick. So according to the Chachamim, you have to go ahead and be Mekai in the star, and therefore, if you're not right, and therefore, since it wasn't Mekayim. So therefore, right, the Chachamim, if the people want to go ahead and claim it was a good gift, go ahead and be Mekayim the star, right? Otherwise, the watch stays with the other guy. So the Gemara says, didn't already have this machlokes in another case. The Tanya were living in a Bryce, in a case in Ksubis, two people assigned a star, but afterwards they said, oh, we were katanim hayu, right? We were minors, right? So the Tanya ain't money the place of Divrei Meir. The Rameir says, right, they're not believed to go ahead and passel it, because once they say, right, that this is our signature, we did write this, so you don't need kimashtaros, you don't need kimashtaros, they have no right to go ahead and ruin the star and passel the star to say they were katanim. And the Chachamim Einrim, nemanim, they are believed. Why? Because you don't need to be Mekai Shtar, and therefore you have Peshas Apeshit, right? They're the ones who are basically saying, yes, it's a star. However, yes, it is our signatures. However, we were Katana. So the guy says, no, it's Tzricha. We need both our case and this case. Why? So he's saying, if it was only in that case over there. Over there, the Rabbanan say that they're believed. Why are they believed? Right? Mishum dalime edim marishtar, because they're two people. Two witnesses can possible star. So, that which they're saying that the star is not really good, they could have just gone ahead, two people testify that says this is not true. Right? So you have two people. So therefore, believe them. Migo, they could believe them because they could have just been edim. So believe them when they say, yes, we did sign the star, but we were 10 years old at the time. But in our case, over here, we're not talking about the guy who's making the claim that I was sick, right? He's not two witnesses. He can't uproot the star if it was a valid star. So therefore, aim alone. Maybe I would say the Chachamim could say that he should not be believed. If we just had the case of our Mishnah, only the case of our Mishnah, right? Where that the person, in the case of the person, he's not believed to say what he is, but the other ones, but maybe over there, where they're the ones authenticating, and they are two people, where can they just be Eidim? Maybe I would say they agree to the Rabbanan to be Nemanim. Therefore, it's Shricha. Therefore, we need both cases, our case and the case in Ksubas. V'chein Omar Rabba. And so too, Rabbah says, Raya, the Raya in our Mishnah is Be'edim. In other words, we're talking about that you have to go ahead and bring proof Be'edim. So Amarle, Abaye, my timer, name with the kuluk sibahu. In other words, why do you say that you need witnesses here? In other words, you don't need kimashtaros, right? Name of the kuluk sibu moshtaros say kad havim halicha raglehu. In other words, you don't need why is the burden of proof on them to be witnesses? Because moshtaros say, right, I gave this as a gift, when I was walking on my feet in the shuk, right? Havim halicha raglehu b'shuka uvaha like siba, and it was that written in the shtar, right? My nose, he didn't say he was healthy in the shtar, mashma that he must have been sick, right? So shmamina shchimira havi. Right, and therefore you can learn from here that he's a shchimra, and therefore the burden of proof is really we're talking about is not just saying it's a good start, but rather proving that he that he was not a shchimra, right? So adarabba, opposite. I can say the guluk sibahu katzay v'rami ba'arsei. When they write out a shtar shchimra, right, they could write out that he was sick in bed, right? Ba'alai kasaba. Right, and it wasn't written that I was sick in bed. Mashma, right? Shmamina, Bariyahavi must have been, since the shtar didn't say the guy gave away his watch when he was sick in bed. It must have been he was not sick in bed. He was not dying in bed, and therefore he must have been healthy. So Shmamina Bariyahavi. So Ikalim Hachi, and therefore, since it goes back and forth, right? It doesn't say he was healthy, it doesn't say he was not healthy, so we don't know which way to go. And therefore, really, you should put the mammon, i.e., the watch, in the known owner, which was the original guy, and therefore the burden of proof is Eidim. If the guy wants to to extract the watch from Bob, who was the giver, he would have to go ahead and bring witnesses. Uve plugsa Rabbi Yechanan, and really this is the same machlokes as Rabbi Yechanan with Rabbi Yechanan Reish Lakish. The Rabbi Yechanan Amar Raya be'edim. That the witness, in other words, that which we say that the people have to go ahead and prove, in other words, prove that indeed that he was healthy, and therefore you go ahead and keep the watch. That no, you don't have to go ahead and prove it. All you have to prove is that the shtar was a good shtar. The witnesses who signed the shtar are good, and therefore you can go ahead and collect it. The guy has no power to say that he was a shchimera. So Esvei Rabbi Yechanan, who says right that on Reish Lakish, in other words, we don't say kimashtaros. So Ma'aseh b'Bnei Brak bi'echad shemachar b'nichsei aviv. So a person's so the father died, and the son inherited, and then he quickly sold to somebody else. He sold to a buyer, umeis, and then he died. All right, so. The father died. He bequeathed out his possessions to his sons. Right. One of the sons sold it, needed the cash, and then subsequently that son died. So Balban and Mishpacha, the other brothers, came and it says, Vera, Lemar Kotanay B'Shas Misa. By the way, our brother who sold to you, he was 10 years old at the time. It's not a valid sale. So therefore, that's still part of our father's estate. You don't get it. They came and asked Rabbi Kiva, can we go ahead and check? Let's go ahead and dig up the body, zoom the body, and see whether he has shtei saros, whether he was a katan or a gadol. So first of all, you can't go ahead and be menavel a mace. And furthermore, even if you go ahead and dig it up, there's no proof there because simanim asuyas lishtaros le'achar misa, because different simanim changed the achar misa, right? Whether or not he had hairs, that could have changed le'achar misa. So that was the question. Now what's going on here? So it says, now remember, this is a question of Rabbi Yechanan, right? Who says Rav Eidim and Reish Lakish. So he says, top of the page, Kufnam Dalam and Beis. So Bishloma. All right. All right, we're halfway there. Difficult daf. So Bishloma the DD. This works well according to me. Damina, Rav Eidim. In other words, I hold that it's not kiyum shtaros, right? Just to say, hey, it's a valid sale, but rather you need witnesses. Since they're telling the buyers to go ahead and bring proof, right? And they can't find, right? In other words, over here, he wanted the witnesses had to go ahead and prove the case. In other words, that they had to go ahead and indeed prove that he was a katan, right? And in other words, that the shtar, right? They had to bring a shtar. So Bishlam on the DD, I mean, a Rav Eidim. I said the Rav Eidim, and that's over here. We're talking about you need witnesses. You can't find witnesses. They said, okay, dig out the body. But according to you, Demarta Rav Bekim shtar. But according to you, they say Rav Bekim shtar. Right? Why over there in that case, right? Right? Why over there Lama Lebutko? Right? Why over here there were no witnesses? So why are they over here? They want to go ahead and dig up the body. The Kamashtarai, but look, go ahead and merely prove the shtar. Prove the shtar that's valid. And then, yes, the two witnesses signed. Obviously, there were witnesses on the shtar, right? So go ahead and prove the authenticate the witnesses, and then the shtar is good. Why do you have to go to the level of exhuming the body? Just be the kind of the shtaros. So in other words, and therefore,
Zoom the body, want to get them, inherit the money.
Well, right. So two different things going on. Remember, so the guy died, and there was a piece of land that was sold. Right, they paid money. So now, right now, we're assuming we're about to flip the switch in 2 seconds. The next line of the month. But right now, we're assuming that the land, right, was still in the possession of the family, and the buyers were trying to extract the land. And if that's the case, just being the kind of the shtar. Obviously, kiyum shtaros is not good, because if kiyum shtar is good enough, you wouldn't need to go ahead and check the body, which is 6 feet under. Just go ahead and prove the shtar was valid, and then we'll take the land. Right? They're coming to bring the proof. So it's a kasha. So now the answer is who says that the land was still in the chazaka of the bnei mishpacha kaimi? And the buyers are coming, and they're coming to say, hey, give us our land. Right. No, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe the land is ready in the possession of the buyers. Right? The ka'asu b'nei mishpacha, and the family is coming, and they're coming to go ahead. So for them, they can't authenticate the shtar. It doesn't help them. The shtar says it was sold, right? So they're only, right? Yeah. So they're only proof. Actually, I think I also read the same way last night. Yeah. So and then the ka'asu b'nei mishpacha, and now the b'nei mishpacha are coming to go ahead and argue, and they're saying we need proof. And how can I have a logical statement? The kamar lahu. Once he said, right, you can't be menavel the body, they were quiet. So if they're ones complaining and say, hey, maybe we'll go ahead and dig up the body, that's why they're quiet. But let's say the buyers who says, okay, let's dig up the body, he says he can't be manavil a body. So my Shasky, why were these buyers, I mean, they're shtickle heartless, why would they be quiet? All right, we gave him money, he ripped us off. I don't care, dig him up, right? So they don't care. So he says, no, even if that's your kasha, it's not really a kasha because haki kamar. That's why he said two things. First of all, the yatam rishayim l'navlo, right? First of all, you shouldn't be manavlo the body, and even if you say, who cares, right? If you guys say who cares, dig them up. We gave him our money. The guy's a ganav. Nevertheless, digging up the body would not help at all because. In such a case, those change. So therefore, he was able to go ahead and deflect the question. Now, Shol Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish as Rabbi Yechanan. So now Reish Lakish asked the other way on Rabbi Yechanan. Zu sheshanuya b'mishnah bar kapara. So that which is taught in the different mishnayos or right. Right. So they wouldn't even allow the pathologists to go ahead and do it.
No, they said you couldn't. The answer was things change.
Right, yeah. They may go pathologist. Yeah, here. All right. So Shavah Shimon Lakish as Rabbi Yechon. So Zu Sheshnuya Mishnah Bar Kapar. That was taught in the Mishnah Bar Kapar. He compiled a bunch of Mishnayos and Brises. So Harei Shaya Eichel B'Sada. All right, a person was eating in a field, and he was constantly eating the field. The chazaka that it was his. The kara alav echad ira lamar shalihu, and a person came and says, "Why are you coming and eating on my field? I know you've been eating in the field the last couple of years. This is my field." So we have the eater. We'll call one guy is the eater. He claims he owns the property, and we'll call the other guy the original owner. Right? So there's the original owner and the eater. So there's the eater on the field. Everyone assumes it's his. The original owner comes and says, "It's mine. What are you doing here?" Right? And the other guy said, the eater says, what do you mean? You sold it to me. Or you gave it to me as a gift. If he says, hey, I don't recognize this document that you're holding. So then, then all the eater has to do is go ahead, authenticate the shtar, be Mekayim the shtar, and that's good enough. You don't need witnesses to anything. You just be Mekayim the shtar. Okay? Now, however, let's say he says, yeah, I wrote this, yes, this document was, but remember you wanted to look rich, you were dating that girl and you wanted to look rich, so I wrote to you like I sold you the field as if you own the field. Or maybe that it was something that I was going to sell it to you, but you never paid me, and therefore I trusted you, and therefore you never paid me back. In other words, he admits to the shtar, right? It almost goes back like our case in our Mishnah. He admits that he gave matana, but it's not really yours for X, Y, and Z, right? Our Mishnah was, I gave you the matana, but I was a shchimer. Over here, yeah, I gave it to you, but you never paid me the money, or you never, or it was just like a joke. You're trying to fool people. If there are witnesses, then knows that indeed is true, that the guy never got his money or wasn't really sold to him, then you use a witness. But once the guy agrees and says, yes, I did, right? In other words, this is a good shtar, but it was like a fake out, then he doesn't have the power. You go after the shtar. So now, later of Mary, let's say this is according to Mary, who says, once you're into a shtar, you don't have to even kaim it. Below Rabbanan. And it's not the Rabbanan who say that they have to go ahead and authenticate the shtar. So Amalu lo. Now, once a person is made of a shtar, you don't need to be mekayim it, and therefore, in this case, really it goes according to everybody. So the Gemara says, everyone says, we saw earlier, the Mishnah in Ksubis, it says over there, the Tanan, that they're not nema to pasla, according to Raimer. They are believed, right? Since it was not authenticated, right? So it's and he wasn't mekayim, they're able to go ahead and say that we're katanim. Yes, that's over there in that case in Mesach Ksubis, because there was two witnesses. If two witnesses want to say to testify against the shtar, then you have two witnesses, Eidim versus Eidim, but one individual to say, oh, it's a shtar amana, that person's not believed. So therefore, this person will not be believed. Right, Yafa but didn't you say, right, that the B'nai Mishpacha, now going back to the case of where the guy died and one of his sons sold it, right? And then, right, the buyers, say, okay, it's ours now. They say, oh, no, the B'nai Mishpacha says, hey, he was a katan, right? And he said, Yafer B'nai Mishpacha, right? In other words, that in that case, even though that it was authenticated, the shtar, nevertheless, that you could go ahead and say that it was not, even though yes, it was a good shtar, but nevertheless they can go ahead and attack it because it wasn't cute. Samarlei Zo Elazar Amra. No, I didn't say it. This was Elazar said it. Ani lo amarti davar zemelam, but I didn't say this. So he says Amra Zera. Okay, so one thing for you to go ahead and ignore Rabbi Elazar, your Talmud. However, Rabbi Yana, your Rebbe. How could you say that? One was Maida B'Shtar, right? So he has to be Mekayim B'Shtar. In other words, it doesn't have, right? It's not authenticated yet. And if it's not authenticated yet, then you can challenge it. Remember, if the shtar is not Mekuyim yet, you can go ahead and challenge it. If it's Tzarich L'Kaimo, it's still challengeable, right? So he says, and then over there, Rabbi Yechon says, Rabbi Lo Mishaseinu Uzu, right? What are our Mishnah? Chavim Vayimrim, HaMaitzin L'Chavel V'Raya, Ein Raya Ela B'Kiyum HaShtar. That the Raya over there is through Kiyum HaShtar. So in that case, so therefore, if someone says that it is a good, that the shtar is a good shtar, in other words, you still have to go ahead and be Mekayim the shtar, right? So you see that Tzarich L'Kaimo, right? So you see that Tzarich L'Kaimo even in that case where there was no challenge. So Baram Nivre Divi Rabbeinu Yosef. Damar Rabbeinu Yosef. No, it appears we have to say like Rabbeinu Yosef. Damar Rabbeinu Yosef. Amar Ravidu Mar Shmuel. Zoi Divrei Chachamim. This is the opinion of Chachamim. Aval Rabbi Meir Oimer Ma'adim Shashikasa Tzarich L'Kaimo. No, it was only Rabbi Meir who says Ma'adim Shashikasa Tzarich L'Kaimo, but everybody else says Ain't Tzarich L'Kaimo. And Umay Divrei Kol. So why'd you say everyone says Divrei Kol says that? So he says. My Divrei Kol, the Rabbanan L'Gavi Meir Divrei Kol, because when you have Rabbi Meir arguing with Rabbanan, that's called considered to be Divrei Kol. So it comes at opposite. So the Gemara says, but our Mishnah says the opposite. Our Mishnah says the opposite. That you have to go ahead and that in other words, that in this case, the recipient has to go ahead and bring a proof. Now, if he has to bring a proof, so it must be that, so in other words, if we see that case, that he has to have the shtar certified, right? In other words, he has to have the shtar certified. And that's the reason why the burden of proof is on them, right? Or on the individuals because it was certified, right? He has to get it certified. And therefore, he has to bring proof that through witnesses that, right. So in other words, if you, one second. So according to the Rabbanan, that once you have that, you have to go ahead and certify the document. So therefore, right. 1 second. According to let's go back to the Mishnah. So in the case of the Mishnah, where Rabbanan said Raya, so that is proof that that when it comes to Kiyum Shtaros, that Kima Shtaros, Mother Shashikaso, Ain't Tzarich L'Kaimo, right? Ain't Tzarich L'Kaimo is the Rabban, but now here we're saying Tzarich L'Kaimo. That's why they have to go ahead and bring proof because Ain't Tzarich L'Kaimo. So the Gemara says Epoch, switch it around. That it's really the Rabbanan who hold that Mother Shashikaso Tzarich L'Kaimo. The Ha'Tanya.
Proof could be on the guy who covered also to show that he's right.
Right. So. It depends. If proof means that proof of witnesses, right? That means you don't have to certify the document, right? You don't have to certify the document, right? If the proof is witnesses, that means that the document's good. You don't need to certify it. But if you say that the proof is the proof is merely certification, right? So then you see that both the shtar should also sorry l'kaimo, right? That even if once you're mekayim the shtar, that's good enough proof, right? So if you hold you need witnesses, that means you don't have to certify the document. So Gemara says, "I v'atani." We learn in the Brayos, "Ein neman l'paislo." We say in the case that witnesses are not nema to pasla. They're coming over there to say they are nema to pasla in the case of when they're saying katanim, right? So even if he admit that he wrote it, right, they are neman to go ahead and knock it down, which you see ain't circle kaibo. So where it says epuch, okay, switch on their button there also. But Rabbi Yochanan says the raya is be'edim, right? So and therefore and therefore according to Rabbi Yochanan, he says the other being proof, and Reish Lakish is the one who says that you just need a proof with the certified document. So once again, he says epoch. So if you're switching around all the shitas, and we asked the kasha originally between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, so should the question be opposite? Should the question of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish be reversed? It says lo, no. So we can say that no, even though that even according to Rabbi Yochanan, who holds that all you have to do is be Mekai Mishtar as proof, right? Nevertheless, that still kasha goes this way, and we'll say like this: Hachi Kamar Le Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. This is what Rabbi Yochanan said to Rabbi Shimon Lakish, top of the page of Kuf Nun Hey. So say Bi Shlomo Ladidi. This works well according to me. Damina Raya B'Kiyum Shtar. That according to me, right, all you have to do is Mekai Shtar, and then we'll say that this is valid proof, and therefore the proof is good, and you can't go ahead and argue on it. So Hainu the Mishkachas La Danaftu Lekaychas Lenachasim. That's the reason why, in that case, that they gave the nechasim to the buyers, because you're Mekai the shtar, and therefore the shtar was good, so therefore the buyers get the shtar. According to you guys who says you have to bring proof witnesses, how could you say that the buyers, right, they have to bring proof on the document, or how could you say that they brought proof if they didn't have witnesses there? And nevertheless, so why would they, if they have a shtar, why would they go ahead and, even if it was authenticated, why would they have the shtar? Why would they get the land? Because really the claim, right, that the shtar was no good, right, and the Bnei Mishpacha says it was a valid shtar, but he was a katan. That is not a valid claim. Why? My kamri. So katan, he was a katan. In other words, there's a chazaka that witnesses will not go ahead and sign if the seller was indeed a katan, and therefore, since in that case that he was moed shtar, they admit the shtar. You don't need to be mekayim the shtar, and therefore, even though normally we hold serich l'kaimo when there's a claim, but in this case, that since the claim wasn't valid, the claim against it was that the guy was a katan. So there's a chazaka that the witnesses would not allow that in such a case, and therefore you can leave the Gemara as it was. That this is really a kasha from Rabbi Yochanan, who says that all you need is kiyum ashtaros. As a kasha him, on Reish Lakish, who says that you need Eidim. All right, we'll stop here. All right, it was a rough road today on this one. Hopefully tomorrow gets a little. I just had to finish up the sugya because hopefully